Hello, and welcome to FTT Chats, where we sit down with some of the great and the good of fintech to have a bit of a chat. I'm Liz Lumley, and today I'm speaking to Diana Carrasco of Lloyds Banking Group. How are you, Diana?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Great. I am a bit flattered by the introduction, but thank you very much.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties, yes, but here we are.
Right here now. Perfect. So why don't we start off? I ask everyone this question so that everyone in our community can be informed, get all the information they need. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
That's one of the toughest questions I've ever been asked. Okay, I think I define myself as a Madrid-born Londoner. I am also the proud mom to a 5-year-old little person. Mm-hmm. And then work. So I work, as you said, for Lloyds Banking Group. I head up the risk function for their group digital channels. Mm-hmm. My background's in innovation for the financial services industry, both in banking and payments for almost 20 years now. Gosh. Mm-hmm. I have worked for companies such as HSBC, Visa, or Serviret in different capacities and from different angles, from ideas generation to and business development and risk and compliance. So I suppose that gives me a holistic vision of the industry, which is perhaps not what you would expect from a traditional risk manager.
Cool. I mean, despite the fact we had some technical difficulties before we sat down to have a chat, I wanted to talk with you a little bit about a topic that comes up often, especially I've noticed over the past sort of year, 18 months, which is bringing humanity back into discussions around technology and innovation. So I wanted to get some of your thoughts on that.
Okay. Yeah, that's very close to my heart, actually. It's simply thinking about the customer first, isn't it? Who are we innovating for? What are the real needs? How will our current and prospect customers be impacted by the technology that we're implementing or by the change we're delivering? The digital channel is a self-service channel, right? There's no member of staff interacting with the customers. So the customer needs have to be anticipated in every single step of the journeys end to end. And for that, it's fundamental that we have every customer in mind with a particular focus on accessibility and vulnerable customers. Digital is also a very immediate channel. Decisions are often made and executed within minutes or even seconds. This opens a broader consideration on how we help our customers to make the right decisions, right? If they have to make them so quickly and without any human advice. And then there's also a greater usage of data. That's, I think, the third topic I would like to bring into this answer. Mm-hmm. Data is obviously bringing positive outcomes for our customers, but there also has to be the discussion about the data treatment and ethical principles around that, right? Mm. So in practical terms, it translates into a strong digital conduct agenda, which is not separate or disconnected from the technology and innovation one. It is very important to understand, though, that when we talk about digital conduct, we talk about way more than selling the right products at the right price to the right customer. It's about the whole digital experience and the technology that enables it. So as an example, very basic example, if the technology fails and the service is unavailable, this has direct consequences for our customers that perhaps may not pay their bills on time, and there may be errors. So this impact to our customers is the one we should be primarily worrying about when we think about our technology risks and control assessment. So it's that switch in mentality thinking, well, this is the risk. Well, what does it mean for the customer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very much that discussion about, I know everyone sort of believes to bring that customer into the process, but what does that look like from a practical point of view? When you start bringing up ethical considerations and dealing with data, is that something that a lot of banks are sort of grappling with right at the moment? That's sort of how that works in practice.
A lot, yes, and you do get a lot of developers and engineers thinking the customer is not the problem in a way. So there's someone else in a different team designing the front end of the journeys or the end-to-end journey of the customer experience. Those are the ones that should be worrying and looking after the customer, not them, because they're just coding, right?
Mm.
But it's changing the mindset of everyone thinking everything you do, everything, doesn't matter what part of the bank you're sitting, and especially in innovation and digital and technology, you have to add that little sentence at the end. This I'm doing, or this I'm not doing, or this I'm deciding, which for the customer means, and you have to always add that to everything, every area, every team, every work stream, every PO in the bank. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I liked what you said earlier about that it's more than just delivering the right product to the right customer at the right time. Because it's kind of, I'm looking at a lot of these discussions around, humanity and customer journeys. And actually before the pandemic that we're living through right now started, there were a lot of discussions around looking back at kind of a decade of fintech innovation. There were lots of labs, there were incubators, there were lots of new entrants to the market. But it seems like we're kind of on the other side of that innovation mountain in financial services. So this is kind of a convoluted question, but what is delivering for customers look like now? The next decade of fintech.
That's a really good question, and I think the pandemic has put that on the table even more. You're right. We were having these discussions before it, but now we cannot avoid them. That makes a difference. So,
what are some of the things you're seeing now?
Yeah, I think that customers, basically customers are demanding a service that they can use and that gives them what they need, nothing more. Right. So sometimes we're over-engineering super cool propositions that it's something that only few customers can use because it may be super complicated for them, or simply it's not what they need. Since lockdown, we have seen a significant increase in our net promoter score, as I presume all retail banks. Customers for which digital wasn't necessarily their channel of choice are now embracing it, as for many people, it's the only way they can bank during the pandemic, right? There's no other channels available for them if they have to lock down or if they're vulnerable and they don't want to go out or they're not comfortable using their telephone. So 3 times more 70 years old have registered for online banking for the first time than at the same time last year. That is a lot of 70-year-old people connecting to the internet and online banking for the first time. This only materializes something that is not new, as you were saying, but now we have to, as I said, we cannot avoid anymore, that the fintech industry perhaps has to think in broader terms, in terms of who the customer is, that we may have initially done. So put it bluntly, the digital customer is every customer, not necessarily a specific target segment. It's not the millennials, it's not the youngsters, it's not the hips, it's every single customer. And fintech services have to be designed with this in mind, right? So I see the pandemic bringing a quicker evolution. So I think we were already on that road, but this is just speeding up an evolution where we're going to move towards, I guess, simplification and personalization with the individual customer in mind. So services designed for each of our customers individually, rather than these sort of segments that perhaps were not the best approach for some of our customers, right? They wouldn't fit in one of those segments.
A bank for everybody.
A digital bank for everybody.
Digital bank for everybody.
And if you think about it, I mean, it's those vulnerable, the ones that can benefit more from having the bank at home 24/7 on a simple and accessible way, right?
So I'm going to keep with the pandemic theme, because you're speaking at our virtual event coming up on June 10th, really looking at sort of banking and the time of Corona. What are some of the initiatives you've seen in the industry or movements that have been brought into sharp focus how the financial services industry is kind of responding to the global pandemic? What have you seen?
I think that in a nutshell, very good, very well. I'm genuinely very impressed. If thinking about Lloyd's, you're probably familiar with the most publicized package of measures that we've put in place, like mortgage and loan repayment holidays, or our partnership with Mental Health UK and the Silver Line to provide practical and emotional support to our customers to help mitigate the effects of COVID-19. But there's also some measures I like to, since you ask, I'd like to tell you about, which are more focused on digital and precisely connects with what we were talking about in your previous question. So as you know, well, in 2018, we launched the Lloyds Bank Academy, which is an academy which is free and it's for everyone. It's not only for Lloyds Banking Group customers, and provides face-to-face and virtual training with a core curriculum based in achieving what we call essential digital skills for the UK population. So as part of that, now obviously all that face-to-face training has moved into webinars during the pandemic. But through that academy, or as part of that digital package of measures, we've also partnered with We Are Digital. And we're getting tablets delivered free of charge to over 70s, which are isolated by COVID-19.
No.
And we've also launched with We Are Digital a dedicated phone line that provides those people, or people that will have their own device, guidance and remote training to help them stay connected with everyday digital activities, including online banking, but not only, right? So through this phone line, we expect to be helping up to 20,000 customers access the internet at a time where obviously gaining digital skills will help people massively to stay connected with their loved ones, to do their online grocery shopping, to obviously bank online. And I'm quite proud of that sort of initiatives, right? And I'm sure we're not the only retail bank we're doing things like that in the UK. And that's because I guess we are understanding that the role of large corporations in society is greater than just providing the core services and making profit out of it, right? So yeah, responding to your question, I think that I go back to what I said at the beginning. I think the financial industry is responding very well to the pandemic.
Yeah,
I think way better than what you can see in other countries as well.
I mean, I've heard a few people comment, can you imagine if this had happened 20 years ago, you know, how isolating that would be. So,
oh my God. Yes. I mean, I think we have to feel lucky that actually it has happened in the time of technology, not only for the basics. I mean, I don't go do the shopping myself. I mean, I try to get regular online deliveries, which I don't normally do, to be honest, because I'm not home as much. And we do that for our neighbors as well. And we do Zoom with our neighbors who are isolating because they're vulnerable to make sure they're okay. But not only them, I mean, with my parents back in Spain, it's if we didn't have this, I would be, you know, climbing the walls, completely paranoid about what's going on with people that I have to keep an eye on, or I would like to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you've kind of answered my question about how you're coping personally. I mean, how is your team coping with the remote?
I think that on a personal level, there's a bit of everything, right? Nobody's a superhero, and we're all struggling with homeschooling and looking after the house, and then trying to work full time, and then still trying to rest and don't come completely crazy by not going out of like the same four walls all the time. I'm personally developing a lot of personal resilience, and I thought I already had a lot before this. You know, when you turn older, is something that you kind of improve on and develop by nature. But this COVID-19 situation has definitely exponentially made me increase that personal resilience. I try to focus on recognizing and feeling proud of the things that I can achieve. And I'm encouraging the whole team. We're encouraging everybody at the bank to do that, right? We know that everybody is doing what they can. So if you cannot work 8 hours a day or 7 hours a day, whatever is in your contract, and you can work 5 or 3 or whatever you manage to work, given your personal circumstances, feel proud about having achieved that rather than guilty for what you haven't.
Mm. No, I agree. I like that. Someone commented to me the other day that it seems like everyone working from home has kind of brought, like, as we started this conversation, humanity back into the workplace. Seeing the pets jump on the call, seeing the children, seeing people as whole people have made people realize we're all humans working and trying our best.
Definitely. I think my son has been in more conference calls than I have, because sometimes I go back to my home office and I find him sitting there on my lap, like, I'm not sure you should be doing that. But now, seriously, I think that we've learned new ways of doing things individually and as part of the team, as you were saying. And I think that, it turns out that some of these are better than the old ones. So some of these new ways of doing things we may very well keep. And I think that last thought about this, how we're coping with Corona, it's fundamental that we try not to think too far ahead, to be honest, because we can't plan. We don't know what's coming down the line in 3-6 months time. I'm thinking even Christmas period or holidays, for me, that's too far away. No idea. Normally I'm a control freak that by now would have all my Christmas holidays sorted, and probably February half term for 2021 as well. But that's not possible on a personal or on a professional basis. So things may change. So just try to focus in short and medium term. And as I was saying before, the achievements. So what can you actually do, and feeling proud for, at the end of the day, having able to do this and that for work and at home, and don't give ourselves a hard time for the things that we haven't. As I said, nobody's a superhero.
Excellent.
As far as I know.
We're not. On that note, Dana, thank you very much for having a chat with me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It was lovely. And it's lovely to, through technology, be able to do these things. And to see you. You look great.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.